Hi, everyone. We want to welcome you tonight to Redox Nurse Talk. I'm Cindy Reed, and my co-host is Doria Stewart, and Doria's from the Atlanta area. So what we're going to talk about tonight is a breakthrough technology, but we will make a disclaimer that this technology does not diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. It just gives the body what it needs to help itself do the performance that it needs to do. We'll put it that way. So if you're new to this, have an open mind as you're learning about this technology. And if you have any issues or challenges with your health, this is definitely something you should look into and not dismiss it. Just always be sure you know what you're saying no to. So, and at the end, we'll tell you to get back to the person that invited you, but we will have a time you can put some questions in the chat as the guest is speaking, and then when she finishes, she can maybe answer those questions for us. So we want to welcome everybody. I'm going to turn it over to Doria just for a brief moment. Let her tell a little bit about herself.
Thank you,
Doria.
Cindy. I appreciate that. So I'm so thankful that you all have taken your time out of your busy night to be with us this evening to hear about this wonderful technology. And so thankful for my partner, Cindy Reed, for, walking with me on this journey as we had created Redox Nurse Talk over a year ago. But I'm a nurse here in Atlanta, Georgia, and my nursing field consists of from psychiatric nursing to med-surg nursing to now gastroenterology. So I'm 67. I'm proud to say that because I don't look like I'm 67, but I'm proud to say I still work as a nurse 3 days a week. I work as a recovery room nurse in a clinic, and I stand on my feet for about 8 to 9 hours every day. And thankfully with this product, this has allowed me to have more resilience to be able to endure those long hours to continue, working at the bedside and taking care of patients. My main objective, and I know Cindy's going to share a little bit about her testimony, but when I first found out about this, I didn't think I had any need for it because I didn't have any health challenges. So I thought, but after going on the product, I don't really have a testimony, so to speak, in some ways. But once I got on the product, I realized I felt better. I think I realized that that it's the nature of the beast as a nurse working all those long hours that, you just kind of have to put up with some things like, discomfort in your back and your joints and your knees and lack of sleep and stress and all those things. So as, open to all kinds of modalities of healing. And so I, said, sure, I'd like to go ahead and get on this product. And mainly because I want to live in a state of wellness and be resilient to stress. And so, I'll always be on this product, for as long as I live. And I just want to say just a few key points here. I just purchased a book, which is kind of exciting. It's called Resilience is the Key to Lifelong Health. And it's written by Michael Shearer, I think that's his name. And I think Cindy has a book that's called The Redox Disease. And I just wanted to share something in the book here. And what he said, resilience builds upon the foundation that redox systems are essential to our ability to adapt and defend against stress, and redox imbalances are the root cause of all diseases. So, stress is a big culprit and causes a lot of different, challenges in a lot of us. So I know we weren't supposed to share a nugget, but I wanted to share that piece. So I'm going to turn it over to Cindy and let her share about her journey.
That's okay, Doria. I didn't realize he had come out with another book, so that's interesting. Yeah, I love the first one that he did. And that'd be a good read for anyone that wants to learn a little bit more about the technology. So I'm Cindy Reed. I'm a nurse here in Nashville, Tennessee. At the moment, I'm a hospice nurse, and I was on a journey looking for more holistic ways to take care of your health. And I had a few health challenges, and being on the product for several months have resolved some of those issues. Well, technically all of them at this point, and no medication needed. But with the technology, just the fact that it's native, non-toxic, that's something that you need to look at. And that's something that I think America's gearing more toward, more holistic, more alternative means for health. And as a hospice nurse, I see so many chronic diseases, and we're seeing them earlier in people, in younger people. So things are changing, and we need to have another arsenal in our toolbox, so to speak. So I think this would be a great one to look into. So what we're going to do next, I'm going to show a short video that just tells you a little bit about this technology and how it works. And after that, we will have an amazing guest on tonight, Michelle Sue, and Joya will interview her. And again, as I said, you can put some questions in the chat later. So let's go to our video and we'll watch that. So let's get him going. This is Dr. Mark DeBrincat. We show this sometimes. Sometimes we go back and forth with Alan Nobles.
Hello. Today I'm here to talk about redox signaling molecules. So many of you maybe have never heard those words in a row before and actually know what that is. And so let me share. The inside of every one of our cells in our body, now remember we have over 100 trillion cells, and the inside of every one of those cells is filled with fluid. Well, that fluid is called redox signaling molecules. Now it's a very important fluid because it provides information to share with neighboring cells about what's going on in their world, in their environment. If there's something attacking that cell and interfering with the function of that cell, it needs to share that information with the cells adjacent. And so we have these things called hydrophilic channels that open up like an aperture of a camera. And as that opens up, it literally sends light energy from one cell to the next to share information about what's been going on in that cell or attacking that cell. And that allows the neighboring cells to adapt so that they don't get damaged by whatever that invader is. So think of being in a hotel room and you have several family members that are in the adjoining rooms that have an adjoining door on the inside. And if somebody was trying to break into my door on the outside, I'm going to open up these inside doors and tell everybody to be ready because there's something bad happening outside. That's much how the lining of our gut is designed and built. And we need these redox signaling molecules to be able to send that information about what's going on in that gut and how we can defend against all the bacteria that's maybe overcoming and trying to invade and damage part of that gut lining. So why is this subject even important? Well, it's really interesting that every decade of your life, you lose 10% of the fluid in those cells. So if you think of a young cell, a healthy young cell, it's much like a round ball that's tight. Now, every decade of life, you lose 10% of the air. It doesn't look so round anymore. It gets more flat or more like a disc. So for those of us that are over 50 years old, we're functioning on half the fluid in our cells that we used to have when we were thriving and healthy. So this is an amazing supplement that you can take that we can actually restore that redox signaling molecules in each and every one of your cells. Now the process to do that takes 8 weeks of taking this product in order to fully get your cells full again. Now that's super important because our immunity depends on that, the function of our digestive system depends on that, the balancing of our hormones depend on that, but one of the most important things I like is the effect it has on the nervous system and allowing your nervous system to thrive and function. So many of you know I specialize in brain health and severe brain and spinal trauma. And so many of those patients that have had trauma to the brain, they've lost what we call the dominant frequency, which is the most important part of our brain. It's our true potential of what our brain can do. And this is one of the only products, supplement-wise, that we can take that will literally help grow a myelin sheath back around that brain and turn the cortex into very healthy, viable tissue once again. So this is something that they thought was impossible to do. Once your brain tissue's been damaged, you can't grow that back. So we do neurofeedback training to aggressively grow the tissue back and to reprogram the way the nervous system is functioning. But we also use those redox signaling molecules to make sure that the strength of the cells and that the communication between the cells works so much better. And we need to grow that protective layer around the brain. And this is one of the only products that I know can literally do that. So why is it important that we take this supplement? Don't our bodies make this for ourselves? Well, you know, they actually do. Many of you know about something called glycolysis, where we take sugar and insulin, and in the mitochondria of our cell, it's like the powerhouse of the cell. Those two things come together and gives us energy. It's called ATP, and this energy is vital to keep our bodies alive and to keep the charge going on our nerves, to make the nerves function and fire. Now, we literally produce our body's weight every day in that ATP, so it's super important. We produce it and burn it up for fuel every single day. That's the extent of what they teach on glycolysis. But what they're not saying is that engine that makes that energy, that the sugar and the insulin turns into ATP, it has an exhaust pipe. And out of that exhaust pipe is what comes redox signaling molecules. For decades, we thought it was a waste product. And then we learned that this is vital to the function of each and every one of our cells to be able to make that communication network happen so we can communicate from cell to cell to cell and know how to defend ourselves and how to keep ourselves healthy and alive. So for those of you that are new to this product, don't worry, it takes about 8 weeks before you're going to get the full effect of it. And then if you ever stop taking it, it takes 8 weeks for you to return to the state that you're at now. So this is definitely one of those products that years ago made it into my inner circle of things that I do for myself and that my family does for themselves, and for each and every patient that we're trying to restore proper nervous system and proper brain function. This is a critical nutrient that we want to make sure that you're taking in order to help us get the best results possible. So I hope that helps, and until next time, have a great day.
Okay, I love the video. So now I'm going to turn this over to Doria, and she's going to introduce our guest tonight, Michelle Sue. And Michelle has a pretty amazing testimony, and I can't wait to hear it. And also, I think she was a bit of a skeptic in the beginning. So, Doria, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take it from here.
Thank you. Before I start, if you have any questions as Michelle is speaking and I'm interviewing her, please put those in the chat, and Cindy will be taking notice of those. And so at the end, we'll be able to address those for you. Okay. So I have not ever met Michelle. I think we met once, maybe in person. But when I heard her testimony on another associate with Sia, I just thought, we've got to have her on Redox Nurse Talk. So I'm so thankful and gracious. She's so gracious to say yes to be on here with us. So I'm just going to do a little tidbit of her bio, because a lot of her bio is in her testimony. So Michelle is a native of Los Angeles, California. And resides there today with her husband and her son, who is 2. At a young age, her parents, who are from Taiwan, instilled in her the belief that health is wealth, a principle that shaped her life and career. So where I want to start here, Michelle, we had a beautiful conversation the other evening. I think it was this past weekend, and we could have probably talked for hours. I think we did talk for an hour, but we could have continued on. But what I'd like for you to do is paint us a picture about what brought your family to the United States.
Yes. And before I say anything, I just want to thank you, Doria and Cindy, again for having me, and all our special guests who are here. We know you're taking time out of your busy schedules too. So hope you get something out of our sharings. So like you said, Doria, I am the child of immigrant parents from Taiwan, and they came here in hopes of giving us a better life. My dad came here, I briefly told you guys, for school, and he thought, this is an amazing country full of opportunities, and he wanted to build a life here for us. And with that mentality, ever since I was a child, it was drilled into us that we needed to go to school, we needed to go to college, after college, find a good job and stick with that job until retirement even. And so with that philosophy, that was the road and journey that took me from childhood and schooling, college, to the career, I guess the working girl career.
Yeah. All right. So tell me, go into your educational background, and what were you doing before Sia crossed your path?
Yes. So a lot of people don't know that I went to school for art history. I love art history. I'm a history buff. And during the year I graduated, it was a very bad year. It was a recession. And I could not find not even an internship in what I wanted to do. So I think sometimes you can't get what you think you want, so God takes you on a different path, but it's maybe something you need. So looking back, I think that's what happened because it took me on the road of medical marketing. And that's how I was introduced to the world of non-invasive technology. And from there, I was introduced to pulse oximeters, these cool things that, you know, I know the nurses know all about it, that measures your hemoglobin level. And while I was there, it was fantastic. I worked the normal work hours from morning till evening. And because I was in a very high stress environment, I sometimes needed to work all the way till 11, even midnight sometimes, just to get things done. And I didn't think much of it because I saw my parents do the same thing, work 9 to 5, and then from 5 and on to some other job. And they did all sorts of jobs just to make ends meet. So for me, working hard was not foreign, but it did feel like I wasn't getting a good work-life balance. And so I went back to school and continued my education, thinking that more education meant more pay, more opportunities. And again, with that mentality, I went back to school. And because of the location of where I was working versus school was so far, and as you know, LA traffic is real, I decided to look for another job at school. And that's how I ended up in the Office of Research. And for some who have experienced the research world, we were a very specific little niche called IRB, Institutional Review Board, and we reviewed studies day in and day out.
So
Yes.
go ahead. Yeah. So
So
go ahead.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh, please.
Oh, okay. So, so you're in this educational background doing research and looking at probably some studies that, so what kinds of things, just kind of maybe one thing, what kind of things would cross your path that you studied at that time?
There were all sorts of studies going on. There were, wow, I think there were just so many, I can't think of any specific. And sometimes we weren't really allowed to talk about them because it's still classified. But there were all sorts of studies on cancer, a lot of studies on finding alternative ways to help people with cancer. And it was around that time where I was also introduced to ASEA. And of course, I'm not saying ASEA cures cancer or anything like that, but I was invited to an ASEA seminar, and I heard a lot of testimonies, and I thought, that's interesting because traditionally I could never imagine anything else being able to help any type of sickness other than what I knew. And it was during this time I thought, how could there be something alternative to, traditional Western or Eastern medication? How could there be something in between is what I was thinking. And I found myself often reading through research papers thinking, oh, I wonder if ASEA could help with this or that. And that's what really sparked the curiosity into looking into it in more depth.
So after you went to this like seminar or workshop and learned about redox, while we're talking about redox signaling molecules, which ASEA is our company, where did that take you?
Then I started helping with meetings. So my mom, she's the one who introduced ASEA to our family. And at first, when she told us about it and she brought the products home, she was so excited for us to try it and to learn about it. And, ever the skeptic, I told her, oh, it's just some salt water. You've been duped. And because my mother has come face to face with death due to a major lung surgery in her youth, she had always been on the journey and quest of finding the most natural way of letting your body help itself, as opposed to only relying on Western medication. Not that Western medication is bad, but I remember Cindy said in one of your talks that there's a time and place for that as well, and that applies to Eastern medicine too. And when she was explaining the technology, I'm sure, like most of us sitting here, we went through that skeptical season where I heard what she was saying, but I just couldn't believe it. And I think that's the beauty and power of just trying it yourself, because it wasn't until we forced my father to drink it against his will. But, he lives in a family full of women, and we told him, no, you're going to have to take this, whether you like it or not, because we felt like there was something not normal going on in him, which led him to be very, very extremely skinny. And all the charts on his readings were normal, but we thought, we don't want something to be abnormal before we start doing something about it. So let's just try it as a preventative measure. And so we forced him to take some, and the reaction he got made me think, oh gosh, this is snake oil. I can't believe his reaction. He was coughing it up. He was yelling at us, telling us that you guys are just trying to kill me early. And he thought it was absolutely disgusting. So I tried it thinking it was terrible. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. It just tasted like a little bit of salty water that tastes like pool water, but I didn't get that kind of reaction. So from there, we decided, okay, let's really give it a shot. Let's do the whole 8 weeks and see how things change. And like all things, how there's a bell curve, right? The bell curve really is just telling you what's normal for the normal distribution. But sometimes you have people who have immediate reactions, and some people who wait maybe months, maybe even half a year before they even feel a little something. My dad was on more of the normal curve, where after about 8 weeks, we started seeing some weight gain, and his complexion was better. And for me, that meant the world, because I think there's nothing more important than seeing your loved ones healthy.
Okay, so once you witnessed this, doing this for your dad, and saw such a radical change in his health, and your mom was already sharing this product because she already believed in it, did that make you more of a believer because of what you witnessed with your father?
Yes, more so in my father, because at our age range, I think we're very lucky. It's harder for younger people who don't have too many ailments to feel a difference. But I did start feeling a difference in my energy level and after workouts, and even just clarity in my mind and working. And there were conditions that I had growing up that would reappear here and there that I found weren't appearing anymore. And one of the greatest things that I experienced for us ladies is every once a month we have a cycle, right? And I found myself not, bending over in pain as much and things like that. Just small, subtle differences, like a improvement in quality of life that made me realize things were changing.
So I love that that God placed you in this research background. We never know what God is doing. It's always a bigger picture than what we can see. So he placed you in that strategically, I believe, because that maybe helped your thought process to kind of do a little bit more investigation on what this is. I mean, you saw what it did for your dad. So after all that, did you start digging deeper about what this was, or did you just kind of take it at face value? Okay, this happened to my dad, so my belief is stronger now.
There was definitely the belief that it was stronger because I saw results, and because I had the opportunity to meet corporate and understand their heart behind all of this. You realize, because I forgot to mention that growing up, my mom, she was part of the MLM industry for a long time. So just because this product was in that category, it didn't deter me from looking into it, because I'm not turned off by that type of marketing. Some people might be, but it didn't for me. And in my experience, I have never met a company with people that had such a mission and such a heart for loving people. And I mean, they even have a department of ethos, right? I don't know a single company that has that. And their love for the people that they're serving is just so palpable. I was in love with them more than I was in love with the product when I first met them. And that's what really solidified my belief that this was like a A plus 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 company to be a part of.
So you are now sharing this beautiful technology and gift of hope, and you're working alongside your mom now, right? So tell us about that.
Yes. So what happened was, while we were sharing ASEA, it became a bigger force than we expected it to be. And from sharing it at our home base office here in Los Angeles, and while I was working full time too, I would work after hours, and then all weekend I would be working with my mom, sharing the product and giving seminars and product sharing and helping people understand how to use things. Uh, we just kind of started taking off from there, and I believe it was our first second country. Oh, sorry. We had another group in Canada that was growing, and then Taiwan. So before Taiwan was an open market, there were tons of people that were vying for the product. And we realized, wow, there are tons of people who need help, who have a desire to see change in their health. And we just have to keep going. And what happened was, I was working so much with ASEA and my mom that eventually the income started to outpace my normal day job. And so, Doria, we talked about our why. I briefly shared before that there was a time when my parents came to the US, they weren't able to see their parents as much. And I think it was really tough for them, because when my grandparents passed away, there was a lot of sadness and regret. And I also felt that when I was thinking about leaving my job at the university to go spend time with my grandfather. But I was scared of losing the job, because that was part of the fear of leaving something that you were told to stay with for 20 some years. And I stayed so that I can get my pension. And that same year, where I was deciding to make a change and go see my grandfather in Taiwan and stay with him for a little while, he passed. And during that season, I think there's no weight that's greater than regret. And I thought, that's not something I want to experience with my own parents. So it was an easy decision to step into ASEA full time with my mom. And ever since then, it's been a wild journey, and she's my best friend, and we do everything together. And I have ASEA to thank for that, because they gave me that choice.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And of course, I've seen you, on when we've had conventions, you're on stage and your mother just has, and I know she doesn't speak English and you have an interpreter for her, but you just can hear her heart through even as she speaks in her, Cantonese language, I guess, or Chinese. And then for you to interpret what she says, and just hearing her heart about, the company, and, just exactly what you were sharing about. So you met Virtus Norton, because you've been in for now, what, 8 years. So tell the people that maybe they're on this call that, Of course, he's like the original founder. What was it like meeting him?
Wow, Verdis Norton. He it's like meeting a celebrity. I think the more people read about ASEA and understand what they said no to so that so many people can get a yes in improving their health is legendary. The way he wanted to help the masses and said no to big pharma and turn down this big sum, and for him to come back and help build ASEA, even though he could have lived his cushy retirement life and not worry about another thing forever, really shows how much he believes in how people can have another choice. I One thing that really blows my mind is how much healthcare is here in the States and how much people have to pay just for simple things to survive, like even insulin. I just find that mind-boggling because I have the exposure to different countries and even Taiwan. I just see that price difference, and I think how could something that I feel like people should have a basic access to be so difficult. And I really thank Curtis that he was able to provide this for us. And think about, of course, I'm not saying it cures anything, but think about how much it would cost for, I don't know, like you guys would be the professionals in terms of like surgery and all those things if something went wrong. But if you have something that's prevention over intervention, how much money could that save you? And every time I drink it, I just think about him and I thank him that he made that choice so that I could have the choice to be healthy.
Yeah, what a blessing. Because, as you share that, it could have gone, he could have said yes to, big farmer. And we would either not have seen it, or it would have been so expensive that people that really needed it. Of course, it would have been for one indication, that's what it was set out to do, is just for everyone for one indication, like a drug, but it's not a drug, as we know. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. I just feel like that really touched me. You have, so our flagship we know is a big blue bottle, which, Dr. Deep Braincat had shared about. And then we have Renew 28. What other products do you like in our line?
Uh, there's not a single thing that I don't like. I like everything. I use the entire skincare line, and in my experience, I have used all sorts of different brands, and I was gifted luxury brands because I've never found myself wanting to pay that kind of money for it. And I use, I'm a simple gal. I go to CVS and I get what I think I need, and um, for this technology to be in our skincare line, I have seen some amazing things that have surpassed like the luxury brands that I've experienced, and at a fraction of a cost too. So again, we save so much money using ASEA products because the quality is incomparable, and of course the vitamins, the mood. Are you taking your mood right now, Doria?
Yeah, I've got my mood. I didn't drink all of it, but I got it.
Yes, there's something for every occasion, right?
Mhm.
And there's not a single thing that I don't like, to be honest. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an ASEA user. I use everything, but because I've had comparison, I've used other things in the past, and nothing has been quite like our ASEA product line.
Yes, I'm very excited about our line. I use everything as well. And I was talking about last week on our Zoom that I have emptied out. I don't even think people have them anymore, medicine cabinet, but I don't have anything in that cabinet anymore, because of using our technology. All right. Well, Cindy, I think that's all I have. So I know you have some pressing questions to ask our wonderful guest.
I just have a couple of things. She really covered everything. Um, So you talk, and I say this a lot, but you were talking about cost of surgery and potential, procedures you might have if your health goes awry. And I always tell people you're going to pay for your health either on the front end or the back end, and it's a whole lot cheaper to do it on the front end, I can assure you. And Doria, we see the surgeries, we see the treatments that patients have to have with these chronic illnesses, and it's definitely cheaper on the front end and a lot better for you. Obviously, maybe you won't experience those issues if you are proactive with it. And also, as you talked about the traditional 9 to 5, that's how you were raised, and that's what most of America thinks. So, how do you share this and let people know there is another option out there for a career? How do you share that?
Yes, that's a great question. And because I believe majority of us were taught that same philosophy, it's tough to think there's anything else. And the one thing I remember listening to, if you know Tony Robbins, he was talking about the measure of success, and it was just a 4-step process. He said, decide what you want, take action, notice what's working or not, and then change your approach until you achieve what you want. So I think the main question everyone should ask themselves is, one, are you happy where you are at the moment? And if not, what would that look like so that you would feel happier? And because we all know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. And for me personally, I didn't want to, or I guess I should refer to, I have a godfather, I have mentors. I'm very lucky. And I think everyone should go seek a mentor. And if there's someone that you see that's living the life you want, you just approach them and ask them for some tips. So that's what I did. And one great tip I got was, do you see yourself doing this in the next 5 years? So if you can, then great, keep doing what you're doing. And if not, what needs to change, right? And I remember looking around where I was working at oftentimes and seeing people who have stayed for, say, 30, 35 years in the industries that I was working in, and realizing they were very unhappy, but they were in it because they too were under the notion that they needed to stay for whatever reason, for retirement, for pension, for stability, and being too scared to take a leap of faith or to try something different. And I know some people can't afford to just jump in and forget their jobs and jump into a sea of full time. And totally, I totally get that. But it's okay if you want to do a little side gig where on the weekends you have a little meeting and share about it and see where that takes you. The possibilities are endless with ASEA, and I'm not saying it just because I was blessed with this opportunity, but also so many people on our team. I think you would be blown away at how much potential there is in this company if you are willing to take a leap of faith.
You're absolutely right. You did mention one thing. You talked about watching others of your coworkers staying in the job for years and not being happy. And that's another key thing to think about. So if you're unhappy, that leads to depression, anxiety, and that in turn leads to decline of your health. I mean, these are all connected. What you're thinking, your emotions are definitely tied to your health and can elevate your inflammation factors in your body. One last thing, you mentioned talking about the normal values of lab tests and things like that. And you can correct me since you've done research, but I was told several years back, so we think of the norm for a lab test. What is that norm based on? So I was told it's based on Americans today. So you think about that. You look at this average American. I don't want to be the average American, and their values are going to be off. So if you see a functional medicine doctor, like I do, or Dr. Hyman, I follow a lot of his teachings. He adjusts those normal scales for some of the tests based on what he feels like it's optimal. So there's normal values, and then there's optimal values, and there's a difference. So just wanted to throw that in there. So what do you have to say as far as that with your research?
Absolutely. I think basing your just the normal baseline in
Mhm.
America is scary to me because what I've learned uh, for my friends who are really into the skincare world, and because I've been trying to talk to them about pivoting to our products, is there's a distinct uh, difference between the requirements that Europe has, like the stringent um, uh, things that they need in the products or not need, are so different from the US. Like the US has about 1,000 more things that are okay that Europe says absolutely not. This cannot be in the products. So if you think about something like that, and there's another person that I follow who talks about ingredients that are in our snacks for the kids because I have a kiddo. I look at all these things now and I realize, huh, why is the same brand that is available in, let's say, Taiwan versus the US? How come our ingredient list is so much longer with all these words I don't even understand are in there? So you gotta ask yourself, what am I eating every day? And is this creating the normal in our world, in our country? And if the doctor says, oh yeah, everything looks normal, but you don't feel good, I think that's something you should think about is but I don't feel good. That doesn't feel normal to me. Um, then you need to, set your own standards, I guess, because something doesn't feel right.
Right. And you are the best person that can judge your own health. I mean, your doctor can only do so much. That's awesome, Michelle. I just appreciate all that you've told us and shared with us. I don't have any other questions. Are there any in the chat? Let me look and see if we've missed anything. Oh, since you mentioned an office, do you have weekly events in LA or in different languages?
Oh, yes. So we used to have an office here pre-COVID, and due to COVID, we had to let it go. And we have been talking about bringing it back and looking for a space. For now, we only have Zoom still and smaller, intimate meetings. But if there's anyone who's interested, we're always open to creating a meeting for them if that helps, or having them join ours. That's what we have at the moment.
Nice. Any other questions? And I don't see any more. If y'all want to type something in real quickly, Michelle can answer that. This has been awesome, Michelle. I really appreciate everything you've covered. I
Likewise.
think you've hit everything.
With those meetings that you have on Zoom, are they in English or are they in Cantonese?
Usually in Mandarin, actually.
A Mandarin, okay.
We have English, and usually that's a hybrid, a mix. But we also have English, just purely English, maybe every few months.
Okay. All right. I want to reflect on what Cindy said and collectively what you said, Michelle, is I reading this book. I'm probably not going to. I'm probably going to read this all in one night, I'm sure. But he was just sharing about, and just like Cindy said, lab value, when they test people, they use a core group of people, and it's usually young people. They don't, when to get the norm results, which you were talking about, Cindy. And what he was saying that historically systems that are in place in healthcare are one size fits all. And that's what we're dealing in with our health system. And that's why it's not helping many people. But people don't realize that, like when you were sharing earlier that, you may not have felt something, but things all happen at the cellular level. So you could have something going on at the cellular level for 5 to 7 years before you start having symptoms. So if you start having symptoms related to like discomfort or whatever that might be, then that's a signal that something's going on. But I would much rather, just like I said, I didn't have any health challenges, as far as taking medications for, but I want to do everything I possibly can, again, to be in that state of wellness and be resilient to the stressful environment that we all live in. Yeah. So, well, thank you so much. This has been wonderful, and you're just a delight. And I'm going to let you close this out. So, what would you say to the people that are on here? Some of them are, oh, I know what I want to ask. Do we work at this? Do we share this business? Are we all, are we on an island by ourselves, or do we have other people helping us?
Is that a question to me?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Oh, an island by ourselves. Do you mean our little ASEA island?
Yes.
Ah, I see. Think I think not. We are open in, is it 32 countries?
34 maybe
34.
now, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. There is no doubt in my mind we're not on a little island, because the amount of people that want this product and it have seen changes is astronomical, right? Whenever I've looked through research papers and seen the sample size, I thought, oh, that's very cute. A couple thousand, that's a lot to me. And maybe a couple hundred, that's pretty good. But we're talking about worldwide right now. And the amount of people who have their hands on ASEA and have been seeing incredible results, I don't think that's something any research needs to tell you, that the product is doing something amazing for everyone.
Yes, for sure. I love the way you ended that. So I'm just gonna say in closing that I think most of the people that are on here, we may have some guests, but if this is the first time that you're hearing about this technology, I would encourage you to get back to the person that invited you here this evening, because there's a lot of other, tools that we use, videos that you can see more about what this is, and some testimonials. And then we have a more in-depth site that goes into our science. I would encourage you to get back to them. And then next week we have it's Steve Craig. So he's someone here who lives here in Georgia, and Cindy will be interviewing him. So again, Michelle, thank you so much for giving some time out of your busy life as a mom and helping us out tonight.
Thank you
And
again.
this will be up. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was saying thank you again for having me.
And this will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. I'll try to get it up tonight, but it will definitely be up by in the morning. So you can go there and share the replay with anyone. Thank you again, Michelle. We appreciate it. And thank you everyone for coming. Stop the recording.
Thank you.